Visage, a first-person psychological horror game developed and published by Sad Square Studio in 2020, gets things rolling at a fever pitch. You are immediately put in the metaphorical driver's seat of Dwayne Anderson, a feller with a penchant for bounding his loved ones to chairs and blindfolding and gagging them, the lovable scamp. In the opening scene, we see him shoot and kill his helpless family at point-blank range with a revolver as their muffled screams become increasingly desperate. Once that nasty business is out of the way, Dwayne then points the barrel at himself and pulls the trigger. With so much finality in the opening scene, you could not be blamed for thinking, wait, that's it? Oh ho, but you'd be wrong! We're just getting started, it turns out. After presumably having snuffed out his own brief candle, Dwayne awakens and stumbles his way out of a white room festooned with blood and into an architectural nightmare of a house. Jeez Louise, the twists and turns on this house, the staircases, the nonsensical way that every wing of the house seems to be accessible from everywhere else. The game requires you to find key items at certain points in order to advance the story, which proves difficult when you can't find your way around this labyrinthine structure. As far as gameplay goes, your mission is to navigate through the stories of 3 former inhabitants of the house, Lucy, Dolores, and Rakan. Afterward, you then navigate through your own story. Along the way, you solve various puzzles and find key items in order to interact with the unique hellscapes particular to each character. Simple enough, right? Only, here's the thing. You also have to mind your sanity. You see, strange paranormal phenomena plague this house and manifest in various forms. It could be the shattering of a light bulb, the slamming of a door, or the striking of a grandfather clock at a time other than the top of the hour. These seemingly trivial occurrences, coupled with dread-inducing darkness, take their toll on your sanity as you make your way through the various characters' stories. If your sanity gets too low, well, let's just hope it doesn't come to that. But not to worry, as you do have some defense against the dark arts, as it were. Around the house you'll find light bulbs to replace broken ones, candles and lighters to provide slivers of light in dark spaces, and pills. Yes, pills. I hope your psychiatrist isn't watching you play this game, as I'm pretty sure you're not taking them as prescribed. But I guess that's okay because we're already dead? Probably? Now, a lot has already been said about this spiritual successor to PT. I've seen many a streamer put out a clip of a rootin' good jump scare. In short, there's a lot the devs did really well. The game is a masterclass in psychological horror. From the increasingly unnerving phone calls from your next-door neighbor Rose, to the constant threat of various presences lurking about, this game will relentlessly keep you on edge until the bitter fucking end. But the most impressive aspects of the horrorscape are definitely the various scenes constructed from the horrifying psyches of the house's former occupants. Just think of Dolores' circle of mirrors. Absolutely brilliant. Well done. And I could go on about the various merits of this game, but I'm not here to do that. Shocking, I know, but I do like to play the contrarian. For those of you who know my thoughts on the FF7 remake, this should come as no surprise. Visage is 100% worth playing. It is a worthy entry in the horror genre and deserves the praise it gets as one of the best out there right now. However, let's talk about a few glaring issues. First and foremost, the movement is incredibly clunky. Being Dwayne Anderson is no walk in the park. Perhaps that's why he gone and did what he did. Dwayne has 2 hands and only 2, and don't you forget it. The game sure won't let you. Trying to negotiate various held items with an insanely limited inventory is a chore in and of itself. Now couple that with unique button inputs for using items in each hand, for switching which hands are holding each item, and for storing and or switching out an item from your inventory. Oh my god, we have so many adequate examples of how to do inventory in gaming. I thought we had evolved past this. The game is set in 1985. That doesn't mean our UI has to be as well. Okay, rant over. Well, not over. Rant redirected. To what, you ask? To interacting with the world, and if the above criticism is any indication, interacting with the game world is also an absolute chore. Let's just get this out of the way. Unless it's a VR game, we don't need to have push and pull mechanics in play for doors and cabinets, etc. But what about realism? Fuck your realism. It's never going to feel like opening or closing something, so let's just cut the charade and have a simple button input for Christ's sake. And there are also game-breaking glitches that prevent the retrieval of items or the activation of an in-game event. Second, let's talk about the warning message the devs give you at the start of this game. It reads, quote, "Visage is hard. Patience through investigation and good resource management are your best friends. Good luck." As cute as this message is, it comes off as more of an excuse from the devs than a well-intentioned public service announcement. What I mean is, it seems more like the devs absolve themselves of the crime of a lack of clarity at parts on how to advance the game. I'm not dumb. I know I joke a lot about my smooth brain, but this game made me feel like an absolute buffoon. There are plenty of examples of how to do this right. Silent Hill 3's highest difficulty setting for puzzles comes to mind, but almost no direction from the game world and a sprawling environment, and the absence of a map, mind you, do not make a game hard. They make it infuriating. I should not be yelling to my audience, "Somebody help me solve this so I can get to the scary part." That's not challenging, that's poor design. Finally, I want to talk about the writing. We all know that my least favorite character in a horror game or story is a white man battling his own demons of alcoholism and mental illness. God, enough already. Though, it's not the devs' fault. Just follow my complex web of red thread all the way back to Stephen King's prolific writing career at the center. I'm honestly impressed by how literally anyone can do a better job with his IPs than he could ever do. But these cliché sad sacks are everywhere in the horror genre, and I just have no more sympathy to give them. And I certainly have no interest in hearing Dwayne out re the whole brutally murdering his family thing. Furthermore, I just don't understand the setup. Why are any of the other characters relevant at all to Dwayne's specific ordeal? They are certainly excellent devices for augmenting the overall quality of the horror experience, and they are far more compelling than our protagonist. I mean, we have a little girl who listens to the sage advice of a demon, an elderly woman who descends into an overprotective paranoid madness with her baby at the center of it, and a man in his prime who suffers from scopophobia. Take your pick. Literally any of these characters would have made for a more interesting protagonist. But again, this begs the question, what binds these characters together and why is Dwayne at the center of it? Well, as it turns out, Dwayne used to be a scientist who worked for the CIA. During his employment, he went to various psych wards and administered LSD as treatments for various mental illnesses. Lucy, Dolores, and Rakan are among the subjects who were administered this treatment and suffered disastrous effects as a result. Not only that, but apparently all three of these people also lived in this house at one time or another. The circumstances all seem a little too convenient and overly simplistic in terms of justifying the narrative and the horrifying phenomena. And again, I had the same complaint with Layers of Fear. Unless you have a truly groundbreaking and compelling story, leaving it up to the player to piece together the story is just a bad idea. I don't care enough about putting in all that effort for a story that really isn't saying anything all that novel. Let's contrast that with Fatal Frame. Similarly, there's a lot of digging around required by the player in order to piece things together. But it's all so enthralling that you don't need to twist my arm to do it. The story of Visage just doesn't do it for me, and for the love of God, how many holes do we have to descend through in this game? Is that literally your one trick to signal to the player that we're descending deeper into the horrifying madness? Having said all that, Visage is an excellent game. There are bugs, sure. The writing isn't anything, well, to write home about. But you're gonna need a change of trousers for this one.